to read my paper, and that's only because I believe I'm the first English person who's come up here.
I read mine too. What are you saying?
And yes, I actually do have brain damage. I was born with cerebral palsy and hydrocephalus, and you may or may not see me start shaking, may or may not see me or hear me start talking like I'm drunk. I swear I am not. When I get nervous, I start to shake severely, and I start to talk like I'm talking in tongues. Just letting you know before it happens. It may not happen. The last time I was on stage, I was 14. Most people don't know I can sing. I sing rather well. You will not know that, unless, of course, you're the person who was in the restroom earlier. I was singing in the restroom. The restrooms have amazing acoustics. Mark has heard me sing in the restroom when I was working here at the church. But anyway, so now I'm going to just read and interject a little bit. I was planning to come up here and say, no, I need to interject one more thing. I read on the internet just the other day that 1 out of 3 people with cerebral palsy cannot walk. I'm one of the ones that can't, and that is amazing, but only because of what I'm about to read. I was planning to come up here and say, hi, my name is Rhonda, and I struggle with depression. But that would be starting in the middle of my story. I'm the 7th child of Ralph and Sandy Banner. From the beginning, I was a difficult child. I was born Frank Breach. For anyone who doesn't understand that, that means rear end first. You may cringe now. My parents knew that there was something physically wrong with me soon after I was born. Doctors wouldn't listen. They just said that I was the youngest of 7 children. I was being babied too much. And that was probably the reason for my delays. It was only after Mrs. Friend, loved those people, they were our pastor and his wife, and Mrs. Friend was a nurse. And she went to my mom one day after Sunday, after church, and she said, I need you to see this doctor. I want you to take her, and I want you to be seen. And it was only because of Mrs. Friend that they actually diagnosed the cerebral palsy. I was 4. Dr. Kucha was the one that diagnosed the cerebral palsy, and then not very long after that, I was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, which in layman's terms means my brain is floating on water, which is why I walk with a walker, and sometimes why I talk funny with nose and even when I'm not nervous. I had surgery. I had my first shunt implant surgery when I was 5. Going home from the hospital one night on my 6th birthday, carrying a humongous lion. It was, everybody saw that girl out there playing. I was the little girl carrying this lion that was as big as that bass guitar. And I was just so happy to go home. I was bald. I was going to bring my picture, and I totally forgot it, but I was a bald little girl going home, and I was so happy to go home. I had no hair, and I was going to be in my brother's wedding, and, it was a great day because I could finally see, and I could finally, I felt normal for the first time in a long time. Anyone in this room can develop hydrocephalus. It is there's no reason. You can fall. A fall can cause hydrocephalus. Just no reason whatsoever. You can develop hydrocephalus. Cerebral palsy can actually be caused. Mine was caused from the way I was born. But no, you never take your health for granted, because any one of you can, God forbid, take a fall and you could end up with hydrocephalus, and it's very painful. Imagine your brain is being squished actually did get smarter than that. And that's how they knew something was wrong, was because I was using large words that no one could understand. And my mom said, it's time to go get checked. I did, and that was here in Indiana. Anyway, I often look back and think of how strong my parents were, because I wasn't the first child that was disabled in my family. My sister Bonnie was a bubble child. She has a condition that wasn't diagnosed until she was an adult. She has a condition called lipodystrophy lipopatrophy. And if you look it up, it will take you to an AIDS website. It was long before AIDS. However, AIDS can kind of mimic lipodystrophy lipopatrophy. Her body is literally turning to stone. Her body does not develop fat. Her body does not develop fat. The fat that she ingests turns to muscle. And muscle is turning to stone. She shouldn't have made it to 50, and she is 52 today. But she was in a tent-like structure in our living room for years, and nobody wanted to ever play with her because it was so miserable in there. None of us agreed, but it wasn't her fault. She was sick. Anyway, flash forward a few years. I did all the normal things. I graduated from high school on time, went away to college, moved back home, got my own apartment, and started dating a guy from high school. Still think about him daily. I still think he's the one that got away, but we couldn't make it work after that. We'd grown up too much. Not long after that, I met Tony, and that's when my life fell. He was so sweet at first. He showered me with small gifts, flowers, and within a year we were living together. And I was pregnant with Mary. I didn't believe I was really pregnant because I was told very young that because of cerebral palsy and hydrocephalus, I would never have children. And I used this as an excuse to sleep around. I was not a good girl. Although, as bad as it sounds, I can tell you every one of them. I can tell you where they are today. It's not like they're only, in the hundreds. But when I was told I was pregnant, I was just like, not possible. I went through the whole 9 months believing that I wasn't really pregnant, that the movement that I felt wasn't really baby. The whole 9 months I took my pills like I was supposed to. Those lovely iron pills, they're huge. I did everything I was supposed to. I was in the best condition of my life when I was pregnant. And I think Mary changed, not Mary, but the baby that ended up being Mary was the best thing that ever happened to me right from pregnancy. Because I ate right, I did everything I was supposed to, and she was just amazing. She was a 15-minute baby. I was in labor for 15 minutes. God bless me for that one too. They say I probably wasn't labor because of the cerebral palsy. I didn't feel pain because I haven't really had pain tolerance. Soon after I found out I was pregnant, that's when the abuse began. In the beginning, it was just control and verbal. And then I tried really hard not to look at anybody because I couldn't imagine looking at somebody and saying these words. He'd monitor my phone calls, and then he would say, "You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. You're never going to amount to anything. No man is ever going to be stupid enough to want you. You're stuck with me, and I'm stuck with you." can hear him say those words coming from my mouth. He moved us from my apartment in the city to a mobile home in the country, about a mile down the road from the house that I grew up in. Close for my parents, but I wasn't allowed to see my parents unless he gave me permission. Once I was miles away from anyone and he had control over who I saw and when I saw them, that's when the physical abuse started. I was 2 months pregnant. For lack of a better word, he was careful to not hit my stomach, but anywhere else was fair game. He did allow me to go to church. I joined the choir. Back in the church that I grew up in, which was about 50 people, and every single one of them I was related to. I know Jason. I'm not related to anybody here. I cherished Sunday mornings. As long as I didn't have a bruise that couldn't be. If I had a bruise, it had to be one that was coverable. As long as I didn't have a bruise, I was right to go to church. So that was awesome. And like I said, it was a congregation of mom's extended family. We were related to everyone, the minister and his wife and children, the organist and her husband and children, and maybe possibly a handful of people. I was trying to think of a congregation, and I left that picture at home too. When I was about 5 months along, he was arrested for burglary. While he was in prison, he would call and we would actually talk. He would make promises. I'll never hit you again. I'll stop the drugs. Did you know you can get drugs in prison? I didn't know that. I'll stop the drugs when I come home. I'll go to therapy when I come home. I believed him. So we got married while he was incarcerated. 4 months later, Mary was born. And he was released from the hospital, or he was released from the prison when Mary was 2 months old. Just to turn around and get himself rearrested before he like Mary said in hers, you would think, I have a baby girl at home I've only seen twice. I think I want to go home and see her. Not him. 2 months later, he was released again. He knew I loved to sing, but he wouldn't let me go to church choir, so I had to choir practice, so I had to quit. And that was the beginning of the abuse again. When Mary was 26 months, I received what the worst beating ever. I don't remember any of it because I believe God lets us forget things that we need to remember. I remember waking up in the hospital and wondering where I was and being told that my neighbor heard my now ex-husband's car speeding out of the driveway, and she knew that there was something wrong, and with no worry for her life whatsoever, she came over and found me. And I was laying there in a pool of blood, and they said, had she not found me then, I probably wouldn't be here today. However, I was in the hospital for 5 days. Doesn't sound long, but it was. And I had a baby at home I was her only parent. He was back in jail. He was released from jail. He went back to prison later, but he was released from jail 2 days after I was released from the hospital. We had court, and the judge looked at me and he said, "Miss Banner?" And I said, "Mrs. Floretsky." And he said, "Ma'am, change your name. So he said, Miss Banner, I'm going to tell you something that no judge in this country should ever tell you. I'm going to make sure your husband is in prison or in jail. And I'm going to make sure that you are safe. I want you to take you and your daughter, and I want you to leave. I want you to disappear. I don't want to know where you go. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see your name in the news. You know, don't do anything stupid because then I'm going to have you arrested. And then you'll be extradited. As long as you have a clear record, get out. So he made sure my ex-husband was back in jail. My daughter and my parents and I packed up what we could in the car, and we left for Indiana. Didn't know anybody here other than my sisters. They're now ex-husbands. Mary didn't sleep the whole way here. I think she knew that this was freedom. And then we get to Indiana, and there's a sign on the side of the highway that says freedom. I knew I was home. I wanted to move to freedom and feels like there's nothing there. So where did I move? Whole city. We moved in with my sister and her daughter, and she was pregnant at the time with her second child. And yeah, in Whole City of all places. He wasn't charged with attempted murder. He could have. My ex-husband could have easily been charged with attempted murder. He could have been charged with anything. Unfortunately, and the one thing he was charged with was domestic battery. And in the state of New York, it's just a slap on the wrist. But here is where I opened my eyes to what Jesus was doing in my life. He had tried to save me before, and I had resisted. You know, my parents would kidnap me and get me away from him, and I would go back, and I would say, I have to go back. I got myself into this. I'm the one that married him. You know, I can't just, Mary needs a father. Looking back now and saying those words out loud, I just want to slap myself. If I could go back to the 22-year-old me and slap me, I would. Almost a year after we moved to Jasonville. Well, long story short, or backtrack. Gail and I can't live together. I don't know if you've ever tried to live with a sibling, but after you've gone out on your own, you cannot live with a sibling. It just doesn't happen. So we would be at each other's throats. And so Mom and Dad came out from New York, and we drove around, and we found Jasonville. And I'm sorry you've been stuck in here since. Then, about a year after we moved to Jasonville, Mary started Head Start. Great program. Awesome. I mean, she was already doing the States of American alphabetical order. She was already speaking Spanish. She was already speaking French, due to tapes for her because I wanted to sleep and the child didn't sleep. So I got her tapes from Avon. And she learned the States of American alphabetical order in one day, just from singing that song over and over and over again. Yes, I did just. But right after she started Head Start, that's when my world fell apart. Mary said something to a teacher about something that had happened to her before we left New York State. I wanted to kill him. When CPS showed up at my door and they told me exactly what she had said, I wanted to kill him. My whole world fell apart. As you can imagine, this was the beginning of the Depression. I went right back to him and not for everything. Yeah, he still loves me. Because he knew it. You know, just like any child would tell our parents, I hate you. I'm so mad at you. I'm just going to go to my room. Luckily, he's really forgiving. I blamed myself. How could I let that happen to my child? And then, of course, it was, how could you let this happen to my child? How could you have the power to stop him, and you didn't stop him. And it took me a long time to get past the anger toward, I was angry at everybody. It wasn't just Tony, it was everybody. Don't touch my child, don't look at my child, don't look at it wrong, look at it wrong. I was, even shaking, I was still, come on. That's really scary, isn't it? Soon after all this happened, I started having massive headaches. Like, if you've ever had a migraine, I've had a migraine, trust me, migraines are nothing. Because I had found out that my shunt had been broken for years. Yeah, I can explain this. But it had actually been broken for years. There's a slit in it, and it finally just decided to stop. I was getting smarter. I was using words that my parents couldn't understand over the telephone. And my mom said, "We're coming to visit." Okay, Mom and Dad didn't come out very often. They didn't come in the end. And then they got out here and she said, "Where are you going?" Hi. Well, the hospital's moving. I won't say which hospital, but I don't know which hospital. My parents left again, and we went back to New York. And about a week later, I made it a doctor friend of mine, doctor that was here in Jasonville. And I went across the highway, and I couldn't see to cross the highway. I was pushing my daughter in a double stroller like I always did. And everybody knows me. If I wasn't known as the woman that was pushing a double stroller, I became the woman that has a tricycle. I took Mary out of the stroller, and I got down and I said, "Mommy can't see to get us across the highway, and Mommy has a doctor appointment, and we need to get there." And she said, "Okay." So, holding her hand, I said, "Are there any cars coming from that way?" And she said, "Yes." So, colors the light, it's red. Are any cars coming from that way? No. Are you sure? Yes, Mommy. You remember the school conversation? She said, "Great." We got across the highway, and I dropped my knees and I said, "Help me." Here for her, and I said, "Thank you." My daughter went to some people I don't know. I knew them as my neighbors. I didn't know who they were from Adam. But I didn't have any family here because my sister lived in Coal City and my other sister lived in Gosport, and they needed to leave the house with them. I was in the hospital from Friday. I don't remember Friday or Saturday or Sunday, to really be honest, because they had me, well, drugged. And then on Monday, I had the surgery. After the surgery, my parents were told that I would have more than likely only lived about another week. That's a scary thought. If I hadn't broken down and finally said, "Fine, I'll go to the hospital," Mary would have been there. 3 years old. Mommy's not waking up. That still bugs me that I let that happen. That I let it go because there's nothing wrong with me. I just have a headache. I just have a migraine. The hospital told me I just had a migraine. They sent me home with painkillers. I just have a migraine. I'm still partially blind in my left eye. But I think there's a reason for that. I think God figured she's not smart. She doesn't take supplements. So I need to do something, or I need to make sure that she knows that she needs to take care of herself. So this side I can see you all very well. This side, you're all squiggly. But it is kind of cool. You know, I want to be, I want to walk into walls, or, you know, Mary will pick on me and say, "Mom, close your right eye for a second." I was released on a Thursday. And Saturday, I put Mary in the double stroller and we went for a walk. And as we would pass each church, I would take her out and I would put her on the lawn of the church. Of course, the first one was Assembly of God from our street. Take her out, put her on the lawn. No. Next one, took her out, put her on the lawn. Nothing. Get out here. And she sat down. She sat right down on the grass and started playing with the grass. And I said, "Is this it?" And she looked up at me with those cute little blue eyes and she said, "Yes, Mommy." So she's the reason now. We came here to church that following Sunday. And we've been here ever since, and no, we stopped coming for about 2 years, and that was stupidity. That was stupidity. I can't say any other reason, but that was stupidity. Long story short, why do I love Jesus? I love him because even though I kept blaming him in the bad times, he had a plan for me, and he never gave up on me. Footprints in the Sand has always been my favorite poem. I can actually tell you. Since the first time I heard Christy Lane sing it on the television, matter of fact, I sang that song so many times that my parents finally just broke down and bought me the album. We'll get it so you can sing it and shut up. I now know that Jesus carried me through the hard times, and even while I was blaming him, he still had me. And that's an awesome feeling, to know that I can say, you know, there are days that it was just right. I had a shaky, and this is nothing. I mean, I was, and I was, why? You know, of course, with every dropped dish, every broken cup, because hands don't hold it. Every was a child, I was picked on, I was always lost, which is fine. But like I said, even though I still catch myself blaming him, but without the cervical and without the hydrocephalus, which hydrocephalus is a non most cases I've been medication is they're not supposed to, but they come up with a reason not to. So I think that between our hydrocephalus and the cervical palsy, I was extremely blessed because I was able to raise my daughter on my own. I didn't have to rely on somebody else to raise my child. I was there for every Tuesday. I was there for every fall. I was there for the good and I was there for the bad. And had it not been for the hydrocephalus and the cerebral palsy, I would have been another mom going off to go to work. And so, why I love Jesus is before, like I said before, even though I was blaming him in bad times, he still has my back. And because of, I used to think of the cerebral palsy